Hello, folks. I'm Anthony Smith. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about songwriting. You know, I have a style of songwriting that's kind of unique to myself. At least I've been told, and I kind of believe it because I have a very unorthodox approach to it. So people ask my advice a lot of times, and I'll do seminars from time to time, little workshops from time to time. But the truth of it is, you know, and just to be clear, you can go and find thousands of hit songwriters or just songwriter gurus who can give you advice of technique and methods and whatnot. My approach is a little different. I'll give you an example. This is probably in a nutshell. And then I'll give you some examples physically, no, actually playing or humming or something. But I was in a radio interview one time with a fellow hit songwriter, and the DJ asked, they said, do you write songs, about your life? Is it things you've went through, relationships, life, work, hometown, whatever? And the other songwriter answered first, and they said, oh, absolutely. Everything that I write comes from an experience or a feeling, or something that mirrors a feeling that I've had in the past, but it's all true to my life. And then it came to me after hearing that, which was very impressive. I was like, gosh, I'm going to sound crazy when I say this. And I said, well, there are always exceptions. I have written songs about my life. I have written things about my hometown. But in general, most of the time when I write, I go to a place in my mind, very deep. I concentrate, I get into a zone in the very recesses of my mind. I try to use my imagination to come up with something unique, find ways of saying things that's never been said before. And I got to tell you, it's hard. That's why I'm one of the slowest writers in Nashville, I guess. Takes me forever sometimes. Sometimes I hit magic. But the point is that, and I told the DJ, I said, whoever wrote Lord of the Rings had to imagine these characters, these dragons, these warlocks, whatever that they were. And they had to give them specific details on their looks, their character, their voices. And those things never existed before. They never witnessed that. The author never witnessed it. So they had to create it in their mind. They had a vision and something that they could, make other people see it as well. And so when I explained it to them that way, the DJ kind of understood. He goes, oh, wow, I never thought about it like that, And to go a step further, and this is, like I said, I don't believe in rules of any kind in songwriting. So start there. Now, most of the time, and there's no right or wrong, just to be clear. Most songwriters will tell you that hard rhymes, they'll tell you verse, chorus, bridge, or whatever, most of the time. I am not a formula writer at all. And I love that. I love being free. If the line is good enough, I don't care if it rhymes or not. Ideally, though, you do want it to rhyme because it sings better. And it's a little smoother, So singing good is very important, particularly if you're trying to get on the radio. So, but yeah, I'm all about writing the song that I want to write, that I feel like is good, well written, creative. I try to write ahead of the curve, not even consciously necessarily. I just want to write something different and unique. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's not to say that I'm above writing a truck song, because I have written those, and but it's not generally my go-to. But anyway, so people say, well, what comes first, the writing or the the lyric or the melody or what? And I'm like, you never know. Here's another thing, another tidbit that of information that you might find interesting is that rarely, very rarely, do I write around a hook. Usually the hook comes last. And because I don't like to be boxed in at the beginning of my song. I like to start with a great first line. Don't even know where it's going to go, but it's a great first line. And you build on that, and the story kind of develops. But the thing of it is, you can go anywhere. You're not limited. You're not boxed in by a hook that you have to write around. Now, writing around hooks is great. It is a wonderful tool, and I've done it many, many times and written some really great songs. But it's interesting because even the song, George Strait song Run, the Run, we never wrote around the title Run. It came later. We had a title that we started with, and it just didn't work out. So luckily, we just come up with Run, simplest thing in the world, and it just presented itself at some point, writing it. But for me, most of the time, I'll tinker around with the guitar and find some kind of cool chord structures or riff, something funky or something just, you just never know. Like for right now, I have no idea, absolutely no idea what I'm going to play right now. I play most of the time in drop D, so you can always hear that. But when I wrote, for example, when I wrote the song, the music for Bringing Back the Sunshine, I was tinkering around on the guitar, and I was wondering, I'm a big fan of classic rock, and so I was, along with classic country, of course, but I was playing these chords here that I thought were kind of unique. You didn't hear them a lot, and but they still had they resonated to me as true and commercial at the same time. So, but it was like I was just going like this, And that's how that it started. And before you know it, that was the verse, Been forever since I've been gone, and so the rest of it, this became rock chords, so, but it was a country song. Blake Shelton did it and did a great job on it. But lots of times, okay, I have no idea what I'm going to play here, but like if, say I'm playing out of D, I'll play, and by doing these kind of little jams, sometimes something will catch your ear. It might be just 2 notes. It might be 3, maybe 10. But they will kind of spark an interest, and you think, oh, that sounds cool. Then you'll build around it. And you build around it and think, hey, man, I got an idea, a lyric that might go cool with that because it evokes this feeling out of me when I hear it. And so do that a lot, I just made that up just now. I had never played that before. I've played variations of that before, but that's what just hit me. And so, funky thing, I just made that up. I had no idea what I was going to do there, but once I heard the first note, I thought, okay, how about going to that and into that and that? And so jamming is very important because that's where you stumble onto unique melodies and everything, so never limit yourself, reach for something. And I'm going to tell you another thing that I noticed this in playing shows and watching young songwriters, even experienced ones sometimes. One of the biggest mistakes that they make is they put too many chords in it. I think in their mind, they think that is more impressive. It's just like it's more interesting. But the truth of it is, it's generally not. It's generally the transitions. It's generally, it's easier to put fills as a musician. It's like, if you're playing guitar fills, it's much easier if you don't have a ton of chords. So there's a lot more air availability in the song. But when you're constantly having to change, well, the fills are having to change to stay with it, and it becomes a little bogged down, a little complicated. Simple is better. And the vocal melody can take it somewhere. Now, if you're just playing like a 3 chords, what will make that cool? You could do a typical melody that wouldn't be necessarily original. You go, don't set it and don't love. Whatever that is. And then, or you could try to tinker around and see, slow it down and see what other kind of melody could I hit with that might be unique. And you just have to make a lot of mistakes and fumble a whole bunch to finally hit the one. Oh, that's it, you know. So it'd be like a, that's not great, but you get the idea. So, in songwriting, I would tell you this, there's no rules. Try to find something that's original and something that still has a commercial viability. Don't think of too many chords, and try, just experiment. It may not work for you. Always remember, this is my method that works for me. So if it may work for you, it may not. Some people are formula writers. They do verse, chorus, bridge, or solo, whatever. And that's great. I've got a million of those. But just experiment. Try different ways of writing. You know, if you look back at music, where they say the golden age of music, because the melodies were great, and the melodies were great, musicianship was great, but the productions were incredible, was generally, I would say, late 60s throughout the 70s and early 80s. Before my time, and even in my as a kid. So, and it was because, for example, record labels at that time encouraged rock bands to experiment, find your sound, they would say. And they would go in and they'd make these concept records like Pink Floyd or Boston's first record, or there's just a million of those examples that were just breakthrough records because they didn't sound like anything else. And that was because by design, they went in the studio and they just tinkered around, and they would jam together, and they'd find these little just incredible things that they could tell was special. And sometimes you hit it out of the park. Sometimes you'll strike out. Probably strike out way more than you hit it out of the park. But you get the point. You get the idea. Even in country music and every genre, actually, back in that era, like, a record label, an A&R person may get a phone call back in the 70s and say, "Hey, man, I found this guy up here in Oregon, and he's playing this little tiny hole-in-the-wall bar, but he don't sound like anybody, and his voice is great." That A&R person's getting on a plane. He's flying out to Oregon. He's going to sneak in, see this guy, because they was interested in originality. You didn't really confuse anybody on the radio back then. There was no confusing Tammy Wynette and Dolly and Loretta and just on down, Tanya Tucker or Waylon and Willie and Cash and Haggard and Jones and Buck and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Charlie Pride, Conway Twitty, Johnny Paycheck. So you get my drift, right? So what I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to bring a guest songwriter, maybe an artist, but probably more than likely a hit songwriter. And we're going to sit down and we're literally going to write a song in front of you. We're going to get a good part of it done, hopefully all of it, maybe very little of it, which will be real, because you would not believe how many times I sit down and we write nothing. We'll start on 2 or 3 lines and try to build on it. Just ain't going anywhere. So we end up scrapping the whole thing and think, well, let's reschedule and let's catch it on another one, And that happens all the time, more than people realize. It's not like you just sit down and you write a song. Some people will write a song just to write it every day. I don't. No matter how far I get into the song, if I don't dig it, if it's not moving me, I scrap it. I don't want that in my catalog. I want to write a great song every day, or at least a well-written song every day. A well-written song doesn't necessarily mean hit. A great song doesn't necessarily mean hit. So I'm throwing a lot of information in a very short time, and where I would spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes on a seminar just telling you these things, and then another 30 minutes on Q&A. So anyway, I do a lot of shows out there, and I get a lot of questions after shows or before shows when I meet songwriters who are coming out to here. And it's really interesting because I love telling them what works for me, and I think it's worked. I think there's been a few people that has tried it, and with varying success. So I'm going to probably need to play you something here today because I'm trying to think. Here's a song that is one of those examples. And I've never pitched it. I've never pitched this song because I always felt like, well, it's very personal to me. And this is an example of one of the songs that is written about my life. Loosely speaking, it's fiction, but it's very much inspired by my childhood. I've never pitched it to anyone because it's a talking song for the most part. And not a lot of artists who really can recitate. There are a few out there. Chrome, Trace Atkins did, of Jeffrey Steele and myself wrote that. It was a melody that I'd had and a title. And, Jeffrey being this killer writer got it. I'd thrown the idea around to some people. And, Craig Wiseman actually wanted to write it with me, but I had a writing appointment with Jeffrey first. So we did it, and Jeffrey was on it, got it, and killed it, as usual. And but that's not what I'm going to play right now. Here's one that all you church-going women, Pentecostals in particular, will probably get. And it's dear to me, and it was my mother's favorite song. And luckily, the last show I ever did while she was still alive, last show she ever came to, this was her favorite song. I played it for her, and somebody caught it on film, and you can hear her laughing and just enjoying it. And my mom was a little holy roller, man. she loved God, and I'm really glad. And I think that she prayed for me, and I, as a kid, and sometimes I'd walk in the house from playing outside, it'd be hot out, get me a drink of water, and I could hear her in her bedroom, down on her knees, kneeling, crying out to God. And every once in a while I'd hear my name mentioned, protect him, God, have your hand on him. And it was just absolutely, it would put chills on me. It was almost scary because I was just a little kid, but it was people, whether you're a believer or not, that doesn't matter. The fact is, well, it does matter, but the fact is that if somebody takes the time to pray for you, there's no stronger love than that. Because they're taking their time and they're in your behalf. They're crying out to God that they believe in, and never dismiss that. Because it is an act of love and it should be respected. And it actually touches my heart when somebody says, "Been praying for you, buddy." I'm like, gosh, man, I don't deserve it, but man, I really, really appreciate that. And probably saved me for a lot of trouble growing up by my mom's prayers, So here's the song. It's called Big Praying Women. My mom was a big woman. My aunts were big. My grandmother was big. The preacher's wife was big. Went to a little Pentecostal church. And that was one of the things the women had in common. But the other thing they had in common, that they were prayers, man. And they laid hands on you. If you've never been to a Pentecostal church, that's where they get up and testify. They put their hands up in the air when they pray. They lay hands on you when they pray. And they dance in the spirit. Because Pentecostal music is really good. Most of the time, it's just very spiritual and full of, it's charismatic. This is what they say. I haven't got much time left, so I'm going to play this song and I'm going to say adios. But it goes something like this. There were 4 big women in an Olds 98, pulled in the drive Mama sent me out to play. Toting their Bibles, they marched in the house. I peeked in the window to see what it was about. They let out with a shout, sent chills up my spine. I took off just to getting it for a good place to hide. With those beehive hairdos and long dresses on, they've been praying for hours when Daddy got home. See, Daddy didn't believe much in that spiritual stuff. Didn't help much when he walked in drunk. Heard him holler at Mama, run off her friends, didn't even know they'd been praying for him. So don't make fun, don't you judge without knowing. Just might be something to that holy rolling. Sooner or later in this life you've been given, y'all gonna need some of them big praying women. I remember the summer when I turned 13, got hit by a car laying out in the street. Daddy took me in his arms, cried like a baby, rushed me to the doctor to see if he could save me. Doctor knew right away it wasn't much of a chance. They told my folks, we'll do all that we can. Daddy stayed up all night by that hospital bed. Finally looked at Mama and he said, those ladies from church, won't you ask them to pray? Tell them I'm sorry for sending them away, but it was too late. They's done on their way, smoking the tires on that old 98. When them 4 big angels walked through the door, they laid hands on me and cried out to the Lord, heal this boy in Jesus' name. They say glow came over my daddy's face, because he fell to his knees, began to pray too, and something powerful began to fill that room, because I woke up healed, like something reached down and grabbed me. My life had been saved. And so had my daddy's. So don't make fun, don't you judge without knowing. This might be something to do that holy rolling. Sooner or later in this life you'll be given, y'all gonna need some of them big praying women. Holy moly. Now, Daddy preaches on Sundays every now and then. Once in a while, I'll go and pop in. One of these days, I hope I'm as good a man as him. So I'm going to marry me one of them big praying women. Come on. Something like that. Hey, until next time, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, do me a really big favor. I know everybody on YouTube asks you this, but please subscribe and please share it. And go up to the top. There's a little bell up there. Hit that and it'll give you notifications, let you know. But every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central, every Thursday, 6 o'clock Central, I'm going to try to have a video up for you. It's going to be broad-ranging spectrum of adventures. It's going to be sometimes talking about songwriting, nothing, sometimes just playing songs the whole time. And I may take you out to eat with me. I may take you out, I don't know, just anywhere. But it's going to be fun. And any suggestions, feel free to tell me. And I'm going to do something on TikTok at some point. I'm still learning the ropes of this whole thing, so bear with me as I improve and learn the ropes. So anyway, thank you so very much for tuning in. Subscribe. Peace out. Love you. Bye.